No, so like this, you could look at it a bunch of different ways. I'm trying to like look at it from the skeptic's perspective. You'd say, well, this is clear. A bunch of people don't want to do their job. They're lazy. They don't like this guy coming along and asking for information. But you think there's something weird going on.
Here's
So-
a FOIA I found on their website that was sent to him in 2011. It says that the appeal was properly invoked because of exemptions 7A. And I'll let you read that, what that is.
7A permits the withholding of records or information compiled for law enforcement purposes, but only to the extent that the production of such law enforcement records or information could reasonably be expected to interfere with enforcement proceedings. So they could withhold it because you could interfere with enforcement proceedings?
40 years later. Or
That's
30 years later, I guess.
That's fucking weird. The exemption is intended to prevent premature disclosure of the investigatory materials that might be used in law enforcement action. 40 years later?
Yeah, it says the incident is still on. In criminal investigations, the incident is still ongoing.
40 years later? What? Okay. Tinfoil hat firmly placed on your head. What do you think's going on?
So first of all, missing people investigations are not criminal investigations.
Right.
There's nothing criminal about disappearing. If it's a criminal investigation and there's criminal aspects to it, it shouldn't be a missing person case. It ought to be suspicious circumstances investigated by a criminal investigator.
Right.
It has a classification as a missing person. And what they're not saying there is, what about the other 40 cases I've already gotten from them that are since that are missing person cases?
Right. So that's a little weird, but I could also see incompetent people that don't want to work. They don't want to do their job, and they're like, fuck this guy. I don't want to do his work. I don't want to go. Why is he asking me for this information? He's just a kooky author. I could see that. But, like, what do you think might be going on with these people?
So when I was in law enforcement, I worked on the SWAT team, and we had canines assigned to our team. Joe, I can't ever remember us looking for someone with a dog and the dog didn't find the person.
Right.
I have 1,200 to 1,500 cases where they bring a canine to find a missing person and the dog can't track, won't track, or turns around, comes down and sits down and is not interested in tracking. That's totally outside the behavior of a dog.
Isn't that what happened to that woman recently that went missing? That was a part of this whole group of scientists that were involved in propulsion research.
Riza?
Yeah. Same sort of situation, right? She was with her friend. They were hiking. They had just talked. The friend was ahead of her. And the friend turned around to ask her a question. She was gone. They do an investigation. They bring in dogs. Can't find anything. The lady's just gone.
100%. You're 100% right. It doesn't make any sense, and it fit that 411 criteria that I laid down, which is why I did a video about it. Her disappearance doesn't make sense.
So, do you have suspicions? Like, do you think something supernatural is going on? Do you think something extraterrestrial or interdimensional? Like, what do you think is involved in these people going missing?
First of all, I don't know.
Right.
In my books, I've laid out facts, and I let the viewer decide. But one thing I did find, because I've written about a lot of hunters that have disappeared. And let's say you and I go out and we're going to go pig hunting at your friend's farm down the way. And you say, hey, Dave, you go that way, and I'll go that way, and I'll meet you in an hour. Okay. So in my world, I call that point of separation. Every time on a missing hunter case, it's at that point of separation that something happens. It never happens when they're together. It always happens when people are alone. That's point number one. Number two is the canine issue. Canines' failure to pick up a scent. They bring in professional trackers and they can't find tracks. That's not normal. A lot of times, say in Alaska, they have some great native trackers up there and they can't find people, and every other time they can. So it's like if you're going from A to B, you're going to leave a scent and you're going to leave a track.
Right.
Well, they can't find that. And that's not normal.